On today's starting nine, Snake and Carl sit down to talk about a great trip to Chicago, some weekend plans, amazing stuff going around the league. Some new guys do some shit. Some old guys are still doing some shit. You guys might have heard this before. Bob Nightingale screwed something up, too, in a hilarious story. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. It's a great day for starting nine as we get into the final stretches of the 2022 MLB season. Let's have a great show. Action! Welcome back to Starting Nine. Carl here. I got Snake in Texas. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, man. I'm good. I got a new mic stand I'm really excited about. It's kind of like Christmas morning. Scrambling a little bit to get it set up. But when I was in Chicago, we were doing the show together. You know, I saw the mic stands that you guys had in the studio. And I'm like, this is gorgeous. So I picked one up from Gator Frameworks. And it's got this like 5-pound base. It's got a nice little ergonomic grip on it. I mean, it's pretty cool. I guess I probably would have never enjoyed something like this until now, doing a podcast. But it's the little things that you get excited about, I guess, especially as you get older, you know. So, and we had a nice trip. We had a great trip.
Yeah.
It's a shame we can't do it more often. We're going to do it as much as we can, though.
We are. That was my big takeaway. Damn, we got to do more shows in person together. Because a lot of the feedback I got from people who listened to our last episode was like, dude, that's just great baseball guy stuff, sitting around, hanging around the table, just telling stories. And good to just get one-on-one bro time, because I feel like every time we get together and do stuff, there's always like, you know, a lot of stuff going on. A lot going on. So
yeah, we had a hell of a dinner. We walked around the city for a while. You got recognized more than I did. I mean, pretty special what you've built for yourself.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you're very recognizable.
It's the mustache, the chin, mostly the mustache and the chin, to be honest with you. I was thinking there's a third thing. Do I have a stark?
Yeah, well, how do you feel about that, being recognized? How do you handle it? Do you like it?
Yeah, I think I do like it because it's a reflection of the job I do. So that's a good, like,
it is a nice gauge.
Yeah, it's going well. So
yeah.
But what I don't like is there are some just like parameters. Like there's just some stuff I don't like. I don't like if I'm eating dinner with my wife, people coming up and talking to me. That's where I get really uncomfortable.
Well, there are times where that's happened to me. And, you know, maybe if it's a kid and they're leaving the restaurant and they just have to say hi before they leave, totally understand that. I think I shared the story with you. It's happened a few times, but when somebody will come up to you and they're on FaceTime with somebody else, like, hey, say hi to my brother or my nephew, say something to him, wish him happy birthday. That is when it gets a little annoying, but you know, for kids, I don't never care when a kid comes up to me because, you know, I remember back being a kid, it's like if I ran into somebody, I might never see them again. And while we were walking around Chicago, I explained that to you. Like if I happen to be in a city, just walking around kind of on the street during the day and someone sees you, they're like, holy shit, like they don't expect it. So I understand the excitement. And those things are cool. And you're right. It tells you that you're doing something right, or maybe not as well as you would like. You know, I've heard, hey, you fucking suck, or this and that. But usually it's nice. People they want to show their respect and say that they're a fan of what you're doing. So 99% of the time, it's a good thing.
See, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is 99% of the time it is a good thing. That was going to be my almost always it's like a nice fist pound and hey, can we take a picture? Or like, you know, my buddies, you know, I got a buddy who's a huge fan. Can we take a selfie? Or like, you know, my uncle and I text your Mitch videos. Or there's some like, you know, little thing there, and those are great, dude. I love that stuff. It's when it's somebody who's like, you know, like you're saying, trying to put you on FaceTime, take a video of you, get you in like, I don't know. There's a certain line. And like I said, almost always love going to Cubs games, love talking to Cubs fans, love talking to people in the neighborhood, love going out to a bar and sitting there alone and someone comes in and they're like, dude, Barstool Carl? It's like, yeah, here, throw that guy a Miller Lite, you know? That is because I've always wanted. It's like, man, if I ever got to a position where I got to work for Barstool and I was like the Barstool guy in Chicago, like, and I got to do that stuff. Like, I would want to be like the guy who's like out buying drinks and having a good time. So we're there. We're fucking there, man.
Absolutely. And we were at the card shop, buying cards with, and trying to figure out what we're going to do for the show. And a lady walks in, and I don't know if it was a friend of the owners. And she's like, hey, can you do a video for my son real quick? I'm like, well, all right. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay.
Hey, Bobby.
Like, how do you say no? I'm like, well, hey, what do you want me to say to him? And I'm like, yeah. So I winged it. It was a cool video. And I just think about that kid will have that for the rest of his life and enjoy it. So, I mean, it might have been a little awkward or uncomfortable, but a good thing to do for that kid and his mom. So,
So I was up around actually at the Live event. I had a blast because I was talking to a bunch of young dudes hanging around the Live event, just gassing beers, like getting
a
rowdy.
little jealous of you. That it looked amazing. You played with Keimer and McDowell, correct?
Yeah, and a lot of people walking around the Live event got there because they used Game Time, the exclusive ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Created by fans for fans, Game Time is a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. I'll get into this in post-show. We used Game Time last night. I sat like 10th row, 50-yard line at Lambeau and just watched the Bears get absolutely fucking bulldozed in the first half. It was uncomfortable, but we were very happy because we used Game Time, saved a ton of money. Tons of Barstool fans are using it and hitting up social, telling us how great the deals are getting. I encourage you guys to check it out. We've been using Game Time all year. Obviously, you've heard me again. How many times I got to tell you? Check out this app, put it in the rotation. Super easy to use. Download the Game Time app. Go to the account tab to create a login and redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
What did you think about the Bears game?
All right.
The week before, the San Francisco game, I think that they were lucky to win that game.
Oh fuck yeah, dude! They should have lost that game bad.
They were lucky. I mean, the conditions? Incredible. How about when it was the placeholder for the Bears brought out a towel and try to soak up some water, and it's like, hey man, no, we don't allow that in this league.
Little bush league there,
and then they ended up having a punt. Correct?
Yeah, but yes, because they were in field goal territory. It was like a 47-yarder, bumped it back to 52. He would have missed the field goal anyways. That unless it explicitly says that you can't take like a QB towel out on the field to pat the field down, let the towel play, man.
You can take a towel out to dry your hands off, but you can't alter the condition of the field.
Did you go to law school? That is like a very legal way you just did that. Impressive.
No, I mean I have these every once in a while I have these moments where I articulate something in a way that's slightly more advanced than I typically do. I don't know. I don't know why that is. Sometimes words just come to you and you put them together. You put them together nicely and it just turns out well. And other times I'm like, hey, what the hell did I just say? So
yeah, no, it's a fluid. It's coming along nicely though. It is coming along nicely. I want to get to the Bears game. Oh, let's see.
Let's talk about it. I didn't see a lot of it. We were busy with kids sports, but Cooper is doing his first year of fantasy, and he's having struggles. He made some bad trades already. He traded Jamar Chase for like 4 or 5 guys, one of which was injured. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I'd be pissed at Grayson too, but you got to check it out. You got to look into it. You can't just, accept the trade and think that everyone's going to have your best interest in mind. So he made a poor trade there. He was told he was going to get Josh Allen in another trade. That didn't work out. He has Burrow and he has Rodgers. And I said, look, I would start Rodgers against the Bears. He's at home. And he's like, I think Burrow got 17, 18 fantasy points. And I said, if Rodgers doesn't get more points than Burrow, I'll buy you a box of Panini Select. And I think, I believe that Burrow outscored Rodgers. So I got to spend $1,500 on a box of baseball cards.
Can you imagine a time in your life, like go back a couple of years, where you'd be like just casually being like Panini Select, just rolls right off the tongue, where you're so into it?
You would have never caught me mentioning that unless it was a card deal that I had with Panini and I had to sign cards. I thought it was ridiculous that guys were spending this kind of money on cards and enjoying it as much as they were. And now I'm one of them. I'm starting to learn that buying boxes is just, and we had that conversation.
You're starting to learn? You have to know by now.
I knew it when we were in LA for the All-Star game. I'm like, this is, spend however many thousands of dollars to have a shot at getting something, and 99% of the time not getting that card. It's more, it's a much better idea to find good deals on eBay or auctions and then try and flip them. That's the way to do it. But you just can't replace the feeling of opening the boxes and hoping to hit, something crazy. But yeah, we're taking a beating.
In the food chain, you want to be, you don't want to be the guy who's just breaking packs trying to get lucky. You want to be in more of like a controller, buyer, seller, broker, dealer.
If you want to do it for real, yeah. Or if you don't care about taking big losses and you just like to open boxes, then by all means do it. But it's most certainly not the best way, to fund your hobby. So just kids, keep that in mind, or parents, if your kids are begging you to buy them cards or boxes, it's fun to do that to start out. But it's probably going to come to an end pretty quickly, because you're going to realize how much money you're losing. Let's get into some baseball shit. I know people are like, hey, guys, shut the hell up with all this. Yeah. Like, hey, we get it, but we like to catch up. We do. Up.
And this is an important part of the show, the dynamic too, because we're not in the same room together. We're not. It's not like you and I have been sitting around watching baseball together for 3 hours and we're going to go cut a show together. So that is a message to the audience. It is important. This is like a fundamental dynamic of the show, is like the boys getting together, catching up, and we're going to get into the baseball stuff. But first, I'd like to talk about Roman. Roman swipes are convenient, over-the-counter wipes that are clinically proven to help you last longer in bed. They are uniquely formulated to reduce overstimulation without eliminating sensation altogether. In 2019, they were proven to increase time to orgasm by more than 4x. Guys, that is so many more pumps. However many pumps you're walking in the room with, 4x is a lot more pumps. All you have to do is just remove the disposable swipe from its discreet pocket-sized pack, wipe on the most sensitive parts of your penis, and allow to drive for about 5 minutes. Guys, then you're going in fully loaded, ready to go, ready to pop, ready to do some damage, and good damage, obviously. And you guys can try these today for as little as $2.75 per swipe. That's good sex for $2.75 per swipe. Try swipes today with a special offer just for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order at GetRoman.com/starting today. That's 20% off your first order at GetRoman.com/starting for 20% off. Okay, I've got a new segment for us today. It's called, this segment is called Albert Pujols is Still Doing Shit. 698, 13,000 plate appearances. There's really nowhere else I want to start with the baseball conversation than I think he's going to do it.
He is.
And I think it's going to be it's going to be the biggest, best. That celebration, if he does it in St. Louis, is going to be insane. They might burn the stadium down.
He's going to get there. Just with the momentum and how well they're playing. And I feel like the story's already been written. We just haven't read it yet. But it's coming. It's going to happen. I mean, he's 2 away. We have, what is it? How many games? 12 games left?
Yeah.
11, 12 games left. He's absolutely going to do it. And we had this back and forth before. I think the answer is no. But if he's at 699 and the guy on the mound is, it's his last game, like, do you just... I mean, I might just I'm not gonna like throw him a cookie, but I might just fire him all heaters. Like, if you get me on my best heater, then you get me.
That's the most frequent question I've gotten since that episode. What do you think? Can you get Jake to talk about this again? Can you guys please talk about this again?
I would handle it like I did with Syndergaard and DeGrom when we had that agreement, like fastballs only if nobody's on base. I mean, if it's a situation where, I mean, it's a tie game or you're up by one, that it's hard to do then. But if the situation dictates potentially, you know, throwing them all fastballs, but again, like I said, you're not throwing it lukewarm. You're giving them your best bolt, but I might stay all heaters. Like, all right, Albert, like you've earned this. I'm not just going to serve it up to you, but I'll throw it to you straight. And if you get me, you get me.
Because I feel like there'd be some element of guilt of like throwing him a really filthy slider. I don't even know that. Like, I don't even know how I can explain this, but if I was pitching against Albert Pujols this week and I just made him look silly, in my head I'd be like, damn, this guy's trying to get 700 too, though. I don't know.
Yeah, there's just something about the competition at that level. You're not used to, like, ever giving in. It's not something that we do. I don't think we're going to be in a situation where that will be necessary. I'm pretty confident that I think he'll get 2 homers over the next week, or at least I hope so. It would be a hell of a story if he does it. If he does it in his last game, it'd be a great story. It'd be a great way to finish September, moving into October, and that gives him a full head of steam moving into October. Not that they need any more momentum. He's going to make it happen. And then, you know, how cool is it? Yachty and Wainwright, the most starts from a battery ever. Like that will never happen again. What was it like 350, 360? That's incredible. That's never gonna happen again.
I think starting 350 games as a starting pitcher in the big leagues is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Like I think saying, yeah, because then that's 10 plus healthy seasons. That's 11 healthy. Now to be like, yeah, in every single one of those starts, I'm doing it with the exact same catcher for the exact same team. Very romantic. I do like that a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I was just looking it up. I had 279 or 280 starts, and Wainwright has made 387 starts. So out of those starts, I don't know, 387 starts, and Yachty caught, let's say, around 350. I mean, whatever the percentage is, that's wild. Over the course of a 17-year career. One record that may never be broken.
Who's a catcher you threw to if you had to pick one catcher where you could throw 360 starts to? But you had to be a teammate. Don't give me like, Buster Posey or something.
No, Real Muto.
Okay. Is he just that?
He's that good.
I love him.
Yeah, he's that good. I love him too. He's a quiet guy, but I'd like to get him on the show with us.
So would he be like inside a game, like obviously away from the club, but like in that moment in the game, is he very chatty to you in between innings or something, or is it just kind of like?
It depends on the situation. Like, we would sit down, let's say after the first inning, and we would go over the next 2 guys, or maybe next 3 guys. He would ask me, "Hey, how do you want to start Acuna, or how do you want to start, fill in the blank?" And he would have an idea. I might have an idea, and we would come to an agreement. He'd say, "Well, I like this to start. I like to go to this potentially to finish," and we'd have that conversation. So yeah, we would talk. I'd say 2-3 times during the middle of the game. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the situation. But in the pregame meeting, I have my notes. He's got his. We go down the entire order. We go over the guys on the bench. We target the guys that we're not going to let beat us. We talk about the stolen base threats, situations where guys might try to bunt, and we're pretty much ready to go. But things can change on the fly. Like if we see something from a hitter, he's taking a certain pitch better than normal. Like, okay, is there something you're doing in your delivery? Is he that he's picking up? or he's just seen it really well. Let's try and go to this. So those in-game adjustments happen pretty frequently, and I'd say he was probably the catcher that I talked to the most during the start.
I want to find his, or I want to get a sense of Real Muto in the playoffs. He just strikes me as the type of guy that can like really bring a clubhouse or team together when the pressure's there. Just seems like
you got Harper. Like I can't wait to watch Harper, perform in the postseason again. I mean, I think that not that JT can't be vocal. That's not really his style. He'll do it when the time calls for it. But Harper is that guy. Hoskins is that guy. They've got he's well beyond his years. He understands the job description. He knows when certain things need to be said. Someone needs a talking to. It's rare, and I think he was doing that. I obviously didn't play with him as a rookie, but it's hard to do as a rookie. But I know that's just the demeanor and the personality that he has. He's not a very loud guy. Like he's not always talking, but when he does, guys listen.
He'll be looking to make. I mean, he's in line to make his first postseason appearance this year. He's 31. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, I have another segment for you.
When you're talking about JT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's about damn time.
Am I overreacting to this? I just feel like a great catcher like that, like a top catcher that can get into these situations where you're managing these like extremely stressful innings and these bullpen, like you're bringing in new pitchers and he's the guy who's standing on the mound being like, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to be fine. Like I do feel like he's such a like good field general and good presence where like if the Phillies go on a little run here, like, I don't know. And people will talk about Bryce Harper. People will talk about Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah. Well, think about it as a catcher. You're catching 140, maybe 150 games. And he takes it personally. Like catchers have to take it as personal as the pitcher or more when things don't go well because of how much they're invested, how much they game plan. So to grind it out, 130, 150, however many games you catch, getting the shit beat out of you behind the plate, catching 12-inning games sometimes, maybe more, playing a night game, having to come out the next day, play a day game, get on a plane and go cross country and start 2 of the 3 games or 3 of the 4 games in the series. You have to do all that all season and then not make the postseason. I mean, if there's one guy, one position on the field that just probably takes that harder than anybody, it's got to be the catcher because of how much shit they have to deal with, how hard it is on your body, how much responsibility you have, and then just to come up short, it's got to be tough. I know it is. Not that it's easy for anybody, but I feel like the responsibility that catchers are placed with or have on their plate is more than any other position.
I don't mind dovetailing into catcher culture at all right now because it is fascinating, the stuff you're talking about. They care. They're so invested. You're right. Like if a pitcher performs bad, there are some catchers that take that as part of their, they didn't perform well. They didn't get the outs.
And you see times where a guy hits a bomb or a pitcher shakes the catcher off. He throws a slider when the pitcher called a heater or whatever, and the guy hits a homer, and you'll see the catcher like drop his head, and it seems like the catcher's showing the guy up. And maybe at times it is that, it comes across that way, but that guy has so much invested that he's just showing emotion. He's not doing it, I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's not happening because he's trying to make the pitcher look bad. He's like, God damn, like that was a big homer in a situation we needed to, get out of this inning without giving up any runs. And I game planned to understand what to call in this situation, and he shook me off. He didn't trust me. So those are factors that kind of go into that, emotional state that the catcher's in. Absolutely.
There's a reason catchers make great managers too. The shit you're talking about, because they're just plugged in every pitch, every pitch.
Yeah, I mean they see everything, and they're having to control the running game. They're having to game plan for every hitter, and they have the best view of the entire field. They know the positioning better than just about everybody else. And they call pitches according to where guys are out on the field, and that's something that I never took for granted. Having a catcher that was that dialed in and willing to accept all that responsibility and put in the effort and the hours that's required to be a catcher at the highest level.
You threw really well to John Baker. I was only like 50 innings or whatever, but
Yeah.
John Baker and
Love John Baker
and Wellington Castillo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a phenomenal relationship with John Baker, and he's working with the Pirates right now.
This is real inside baseball too. If you don't know who John Baker is and you're interested, follow up after this episode. He was like hired as a mental skills guy for the Cubs after playing with the Cubs, and it's just like a journeyman, just a legit guy around the game.
And very smart guy. I graduated from, I think it was Berkeley.
Yep.
And ended up going back to school for further education, and got another degree. I believe I need to text him and figure out what it is. But yeah, just one of the smarter guys you'll ever talk to. Like knows the game inside and out, and got into jiu-jitsu really heavy and excelled in that. It's like he's one of those guys that just excels in anything that he puts his mind to. And catching was no different. He'll tell you he was limited with the bat, but he got the most out of his ability. He really did, and he cared, as much as anybody that I ever played with. Yeah, just a great guy. But I believe he's working his way up in the Pittsburgh organization, because I saw him. We were playing the Pirates. I believe it was last year at some point, and ran into him. He was going out to catch bullpens. Like, just, hey, I'll catch bullpens. Like, as he's working in the front office, but you need somebody to get out there and throw the gear on, I'll do it.
I love that man.
Yeah, me too.
I have another new segment for us. This segment is called Aaron Judge is Good at Baseball. Do you know he's only 4 batting average points away from a Triple Crown?
I hope he wins it. And I wanted to have this conversation about the MVP. And it's so hard to not just give it to Ohtani like every year, right? But it's almost unfair how good he is at both. But Judge is having the type of season, and especially if he say he hits 65 homers, and if he wins the Triple Crown, I think it's a no-brainer. There's always going to be people that are going to vote for Ohtani. Right? You think? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
And he has career highs in certain areas. Ohtani, correct? And he's already won an MVP, or no?
He won last year's MVP handily, and he is having a good year offensively. I can't say specifically. I'm going to pull up the numbers, how it compares last year on the weighted stuff, like OPS-wise.
Yeah.
So he's having a slightly worse year, but not by much. I mean, you're still talking about a guy who's 50% better than an average major league hitter statistically. He's got a 149 OPS plus, 34 jacks. So his power numbers aren't the same. Like, the home runs aren't the same, but at the same time, league wide, home runs are down. From last year, I should say.
And I'll always wonder, like, how much better Ohtani would be if he just hit or if he just pitched. And as time goes on, that question is going to continuously be asked, and it's crazy to even think about, because he's won an MVP, he's been an all-star how many times, he excels at the highest level on both sides of the ball. It's crazy, and I think baseball fans and I think everybody wants to see him continue to do both, but at some point, And hopefully it's not for another 7 or 8 years. But at some point, that's going to slow down a little bit. It's going to take its toll.
I heard from Joe Madden that there's some more inside baseball for you. Joe Madden told me face to face that Shohei Ohtani would play shortstop every day if they let him.
Well, isn't he like one of the fastest guys in the league?
Yes. Yeah,
That's 6'6".
He had 26 stolen bases last year. Starting pitcher.
He's just.
But from the perspective of him coming to the clubhouse every day, like a kid, like that's how I was when I was 12 years old. If you would have let me play shortstop, I would have played 4 triple headers, quadruple headers. We would have just played at 8 a.m. and we would have come home whenever.
Yeah,
that's
the guy
he
wants to play every day. He wants to play every day. You can tell just like his emotions in the dugout, the positive emotions, and he's always smiling and then laughing and having a good time with his teammates. The kid loves to play the game of baseball, and thank God he does, because it's special to have a guy like this.
So, but this segment is Aaron Judge did accomplish amazing things, and now that we're talking about Shohei, this actually swings the pendulum for the argument that Shohei is deserving of the MVP, because even though Aaron Judge is posting like the greatest offensive season since Babe Ruth in like 1927 or some crazy thing like that, that we're still talking about Shohei Ohtani. Now, Vegas has it priced out where like Aaron Judge is a slam dunk lock in the eyes of the Las Vegas sports bettors.
For MVP?
Allegedly.
Well, I think he is. I think
the fact that we're talking about Shohei Ohtani to me is like, even though Judge is having this historic season, like it's never going to go away. To your point, we should just create a different award. And you know what? The other thing I think is interesting. People are always like, "Oh, well, you know, he pitches and then he hits." They always see it as convenient that like he's a pitcher who can then go hit. Like, I don't know. Maybe am I getting too nuanced here? I feel like you could just as easily make the argument that he's also a hitter who wants to go pitch. That's such a
he's so good at both. You can't just say he's a pitcher that hits or a hitter that pitches, because his numbers on both sides are unbelievable. Really, I mean, I don't know about unbelievable.
Like maybe the pitching helps
really,
him
really
hit. Good. You know, this guy's messing with my brain. He
messes with everybody's. That's why he's even in the conversation for MVP. I mean, he's obviously the Angels' most valuable player. Judge is no question the most valuable player there, and the Yankees wouldn't even. And I think that's why it bolsters the argument more, because if he's not doing what he's doing, the Yankees might be in third place in the division.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially the second half of the season. They've been, I mean.
That's just a credit to how good he's been. That's not to discredit, the Yankees as a whole. I mean, they've had their moments where they haven't been great. Is what it is. They're still in great position. But without Judge, not even close.
He's at 316. Arise from Minnesota is at 317 right now. So, I don't know. Aaron Judge yesterday had 5 barrels.
I mean, did you see this? I mean, the first homer he hit, like his 58th in Milwaukee. And everyone talks shit about how small Yankee Stadium is. Sure, okay, it's not a large ballpark. But did you see how far he hit that ball to right field?
What was it, like 4?
I mean, he hit it in the second deck. Like that's a ball that a left-handed hitter hits, and you're like, damn, like that was kind of a bomb. And he's going oppo, like with that sort of power.
I think Steve Cohen's going to pay him $60 million this offseason, or $55 million. Or I think Steve Cohen's going to do something absolutely ridiculous to bring him to the Mets.
What do? Do you try and offer him, let's say, a 3 or 4 year deal, and we'll pay you $80 million a year?
Yeah, I would do 4 years, over $200 million, opt out after year 1, opt out after year 2 or something. I would do whatever it takes, but I think the days of like the 8-year, $350 for a position player are going to change for the next couple of years while Boris is doing this Carlos Correa thing, where he can go get his guys $40 million a year, and start to scale these bigger, get comfortable. Like teams aren't comfortable paying that.
I don't think Judge would have a problem with signing a $250 million deal for 3 or 4 years or 300, whatever. Like just, you still get all your money, and then you can, if there's an opt-out. I know guys who signed long-term deals, for a decade plus, that had offers from other teams for less than half of the years, for almost like a couple of the years were double the AAV. Like we'll pay you a shit ton of money for a few years, get the most out of you, and then you can either opt out or you can have $250 million in the bank and then go elsewhere, or we can re-sign you. I kind of like that.
And now that the point about the Correa thing is like, I think the teams in the market has to get comfortable with the idea that like the price tags are just going to be very, very high down the road. So the days of like, well, $25 million was a lot for a player. It still is very much for a player, but it's not going to be the high end where they're like, well, look at all these $25 million guys. It's going to move the needle to like and Correa getting to the market and being like, yeah, I'll go play for the Twins because they're willing to pay me 40. I think kind of gets other teams to perk up for a second and be like, wait, the Twins, Correa, that deal doesn't set us back for 10 years? Because a lot of teams I would imagine, have grown into this like, well, if you do the free agency commitments, you have to have your infrastructure, you have to have your young guys, you have to be in a position where this doesn't completely drag the team down if the contract goes one way or the other.
Well, yeah, you don't want to be tied to, in certain situations, you don't want to be tied to a contract for 12, 13, 14 years.
Right, dude.
So I think teams are more inclined to increase the AAV on a shorter contract. And, I think we might start seeing that. And look, these franchise values are absolutely absurd. So teams can handle that. Teams can handle that. And if you're going to get a guy's best years, then so what? So what? What do you think about, just a quick side note about, Juan Soto? You think he regrets, but, turning down $440 million? He's in his last 17 games, he's hitting under 100. Not that he's not a great player, but wow. Like he's like, this is, and he's still, he's got one more year, but this is, it's interesting. 5 for his last 56. He hit a homer last night. He hit his 25th homer.
Yeah. Off the inside part of the barrel too. Didn't even.
Yeah. Maybe some room for concern there.
Who's his agent? Boris, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked to Scott about that. But Scott,
we did.
His sentiment was like, it was more off record, and we didn't ever said names or anything because that's tampering. Just the general sentiment of like, things have to play out. He's very talented, but no, I don't think anybody could have said that Juan Soto would be 5 for 56 at any stretch in his career.
Ever.
It might be the worst stretch in his career, over 56 plate appearances.
Yeah, hitting under 100 in 17 games. He's probably never done that before.
Hopefully he's got some protection, and that's what we want to talk to you guys about from our good friends at Policy Genius. Why, guys? Why would you not be checking out Policy Genius? We pay hundreds of dollars a year to protect our homes, our cars, and even our phones, but too many of us aren't taking steps to protect our family's finances. Whether it's mortgage payments, private student loans, other types of debt, just don't disappear when something happens to you. A life insurance policy can provide your loved ones with a financial cushion they can use to cover those costs, and it can provide you with peace of mind that even in a worst-case scenario, they'll be protected. Policy Genius is an insurance marketplace that makes it easy to compare quotes from top companies like AIG and Prudential in one place to find your lowest price on life insurance. You could save 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. That's 50% or more on life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. Options start at just $17 per month for $500,000 worth of coverage. Guys, if you've been following me for however long, I'm an insurance slinger. I'm licensed to sell insurance. I used to broker that stuff, benefit side, health insurance. I'm all over insurance when it comes to this side of life. Some would call me an expert, Jake, and I can't recommend it
more than I.
Yeah. It's just Policy Genius. Nobody does it better than Policy Genius, Jake. And I know you trust me.
Very, very much.
So our audience, guys, trust me, go to policygenius.com, get your free life insurance quotes, see how much you could save. I'm telling you, it could be 50% or more if you just go check them out. Head to policygenius.com to get your free life insurance quotes, see how much you can save. This is a new segment called Young Baseball Player Does Amazing Thing.
Well, I know the one you're going to go to first, hopefully, and he's just a stud.
Spencer Strider strikes out is the fastest pitcher in Major League history to strike out 200 hitters. He breaks Randy Johnson's record from 2001 when Randy Johnson struck out 200 in 130 innings or 130 something. Spencer Strider broke that record this year. Fastest to 200.
It's insane to say that, ever. And all the greats, and like the insane amount of strikeouts, like the strikeout era. I mean, obviously there's a lot of strikeouts now, but I just think about, like Clemens or Nolan Ryan or Randy Johnson, guys like that, or even like a decade or two before that, the amount of guys that just would rack up strikeouts, and then Spencer Strider breaks the record, the all-time record. Like that's incredible. He's having a really nice year. I mean, I think he's a lock for Rookie of the Year, at least in my opinion. Really, really fun to watch. Just explosive stuff. He had a 16 strikeout game a couple weeks back. Just, and I say this about, I've said about DeGrom and about, Verlander and a bunch of other guys. You just hope for their health, because guys like this are very special. And if they can maintain their health, I mean, he's going to be able to do some incredible things in our game.
And I feel bad. People listen. There's a large portion of people listening to this probably haven't seen him throw more than a couple innings.
That's probably true. I mean, get on YouTube or go somewhere and watch him throw. Watch his highlights.
The ball, like his fastball, and everybody's out throwing gas. Like at this point, okay, you throw 98, dude. Cool.
It's his ability to tunnel.
Jumps.
Yeah, it's his ability to tunnel those pitches as often as he does. It's like it's just routine. He just does it time and time and time again. And you got to sit heater against him. Anybody that throws that hard, you have to sit heater, and you adjust to breaking balls. He's able to throw to all four quadrants of the zone, up and in, up and away, down and away, down and in. And he throws that hard breaking ball off that. It's just so hard to square up. And he can pitch at the top of the zone with, it seems like, relative ease. And he's got great feel for his secondary stuff. And as a rookie, I mean, he's only going to get better too. He's only going to get better.
He's talked a lot. And he's I don't know if you say, he's been interesting in the media, like when he lost to the Mets and was like, well,
yeah, I was
hit me
down
that hard.
on him. I was a little down on that, Like, cheap hits happen, sure. But don't complain about it. Just go punch out 16.
Now, the Braves, do they stand anything to gain by running him out there in a game one long term if he does really well in the postseason? Is there truth to that?
So, I mean, you're saying potentially don't start him game one?
Yeah, because then they could say, well, he's a rookie and he's, this is the most innings he's pitched and we don't want to overwhelm him. We want him to, or do you just go into October and you're like, hey, dude, you're never going to be as ready as you are right now. You're starting game one.
I don't think it would be a bad move. I mean, they have a few nice options. I mean, you could run Morton out there. I love Kyle Wright's stuff. Fried's really good too. So I mean, they have options, and they'll have to look at the matchup. They'll have to decide, who's our hottest guy going into October, and that answer could be one of two or three guys. So I don't think it matters if he starts one or two or three. I think the postseason experience for him regardless of where he starts, is only going to increase his pitch ability moving forward. And that's kind of scary to think about, as good as he already is.
Yeah, I'm looking now. Max Fried, obviously, the guy, and having the experience of going through the postseason run last year. But then you get to have fun with matching up the righty and the lefty and the big curveball versus like the gas, and having Charlie Morton mixed in there too. Yeah, the Braves are. It's like we say this all the time. I just want the postseason to start. But man, I would just love to see the Braves and the Mets square this off in a 5-game series in NLDS. Like I would please just do that.
Yeah, it'd be a hell of a matchup.
I got another young pitcher I want to talk about.
Another one of my favorites.
I hate this statistic quality start now. I'm out.
It's a weird stat. I know, because it shows consistency. It shows the ability to throw at least 6 innings, and just like I said, to consistently do that. Framber, I mean, he's got the ability to go 7-8 every night with that sinker. Just putting the ball on the ground, getting swings and misses, quick innings, really nice curveball, like super late curveball. Man, he's going to be a beast in the postseason too.
A guy like him, there's one of the like big momentum things that can happen in a baseball game to me is like, even if a lineup doesn't put a crooked number up, if you send like 5-6 guys to the plate, you score a run, there's a walk, a hit, there's some action on the bases and stuff. There is nothing worse than when you get off the field, you're the starting pitcher, you go sit in the dugout, you're having some water, right? And then your first guy, ground ball shortstop. Next guy takes a strike, then grounds out to the second baseman. Now 2 quick outs, 3, 4, 5 pitches, whatever it is. And like you're just back in the field. Like you just 20-minute, half inning, whatever it was, you're just grinding to get 3 outs. You come in, and then Framber Valdez on the other side just pumping 97-mile-an-hour sinkers. And like what you're talking about, the quick and easy outs. Not easy outs, but just like the quick, guy gets up, guy's out, guy's up, down. Because he's not necessarily trying to bury you with strikeouts and have these prolonged innings. So those really quick innings that follow long innings, that's how you just stack momentum. It's like, dude, we're in the 4th inning.
And that wears you down. That wears you down, man. When you grind it, especially early in the start, you have a 25 to 30 pitch inning. You come in the dugout, especially in the middle of summer, like you're sweating your balls off, you're gassed. You get, you grab a drink, and the next thing you know, there's 2 outs already. Because Framber's out there just throwing bowling balls. And, he throws an 8-pitch inning, and you got to get back out there and get going. That's a really easy way to wear a team down, and especially the starting pitcher.
So the statistic itself is he's got 25 straight quality starts since giving up 6 earned against the Angels on April 19th. Since then, he has not pitched less than 6 innings and surrendered more than 3 earned runs. So while if you're going to come to me and say, hey, I had a quality start today, okay, fine. Don't care. You're going to come to me and say the guy had 3 quality starts in a row. You're like, okay, yeah, that guy could be trending in the right direction. 25 straight quality starts in a row.
Yeah, and you know what? He's not going 6-3, or else he'd have a 4.5 ERA or somewhere around there. He's got a 2.5. So you got to look into it a little bit deeper. I mean, we could look at his pitch log, but I guarantee you, and what is it, like I don't know if it's an actual stat, but it's like a super quality start. It was like at least 7 innings and, 2 runs or something like that. But so I would assume that his starts are more of his starts are in that category rather than like the 6-3 quality start category.
Mm-hmm. You'll like this too. Here's a pitch count for him, second half pitch count for him per start: 102, 106, 91, 103, 100, 106, 104, 107, 107. That's good stuff going into October, because a 6-inning start in October is so much more important than I would have thought it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're very excited if they get 6. Very excited, especially with a lights out bullpen. So I'm looking at it here. Okay, you just go to August. So his first start in August was against Cleveland. Okay, 6 1/3, 3 earned. Then he goes 7 inning, no earned, 7, 2 runs, 7 inning, 1 run, 8 innings, 2 runs. Then to September, 6 2/3, 3, a complete game shutout. Then 6 innings, 2 runs. So that quality start, yeah, it might not be everybody's favorite stat, but these aren't just quality starts. The vast majority of these are significantly better than that. And you go in July, 6-2, 8-2, 6-2, 6 2/3 and 3, 7-3. So I mean, these are really, really good starts. His last start in June was 8 innings, gave up no runs. I mean, he had a few in there that are 6 innings and 2, 6 innings and 3 runs. Hey, you ask any team, especially a team like the Astros, they'll take that every single start because they're more than capable of putting up, 4, 5, 6, 7 runs a game.
It's kind of scary too, thinking that he's still walking 3 guys per 9 innings.
Sometimes that heavy sinker, man, is really hard to put in the strike zone. It can be really hard. I think it's the hardest pitch in the game to hit because you almost have to guess where it's going to be.
Where are you
You're
aiming
trying to swing under it?
Where would you aim yours?
I was
that big sweeping sinker.
Early in the count, I would just have the catcher set up middle of the plate down. So I'm trying to start it directly down the middle of the plate, allow the action to do what it does, because it's never going to end up there. But I would get in trouble at times when I would try and be too fine. First pitch of the at bat, pitch to a corner, and it'd be in a nice spot. It would just be slightly off or slightly below the strike zone. So I started to just attack the bottom of the strike zone, middle of the plate, and as the count progressed, we would start to creep in and out a little bit more. Because I didn't want to fall behind early, so I got comfortable with starting middle of the plate, working down, and then kind of move around after that. But yeah, I mean, there's gonna be times where, for whatever reason, and some days the ball has way more sink or a little bit more run than other days, and you try and dial that in the bullpen. Like, okay, the left to right action is significantly more than it usually is, or the sink is more than it normally is, and it's kind of like trying to gauge how much action I have, so when I get in the game, I know where my starting points need to be.
So there's a couple big sinker ballers that are going to be in October. I'm thinking like Luis Castillo and Aaron Nola, et cetera. Would you get into situations later in the season? Is it harder to find a sinker if it's colder out? Or like, I threw a sinker in college. That was how I got that jersey on the wall. So this is like the one pitch and thing where I can actually like personally very much relate to competing with. But there were times where you're like, you don't have it today. Or like, if your arm was sore, I would get more sink. And then you try and get into these habits of like, well, I want to keep my throwing program consistent so that like I know I have the right feel for when I get out there, because it is kind of a feel pitch. It's not just gripping and ripping it.
Definitely
you do have to
pitch.
have this sense of like it's closer to hitting a wedge than it is to hitting a driver.
Sure. Yeah, of course. In cold environments, make that a lot more difficult, especially if when you're pitching in a game and it's hot and you're sweaty and you got some rosin and you can get like a little bit of grip and your hands are warm, you can really feel that ball, come off your fingertips a lot better. Say if it's cold and it's windy and your fingertips are dry from the cold air, you lick your fingers, but it just might not be providing the grip that you necessarily need to get that heavy sink. You can still get action on it, but I'd say the worst thing that can happen to a pitcher is if your hands get cold and dry. If you can keep your hands warm, and you can prevent an excess amount of dryness, because your fingertips, when it's freezing cold outside, your hands just get dry. They get cold, they get dry, and you can't feel the ball as well. So in between innings, it's like throw some hand warmers or whatever in your hands and try and get your hands to sweat if you can, or some guys would stick their hands in hot water in between innings just to kind of keep the blood flow, keep the hands warm. and then get back out there and try and maintain that, that blood flow in your hands. But yeah, if your hands are cold and dry, and the environment is cold, it's much harder to control it. You still might get some action, but you don't necessarily have the feel for it that you typically would.
And we're here, so I got to ask, no sleeves ever. I've never talked to you about this. You never wore sleeves. That's just a lunatic thing, and so it's going to get cold here. There are fans out there that are going to see their guys
started getting cold in
it,
Chicago.
It
was
chilly.
Nice and chilly. Man, when you picked me up from the airport, I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I think you thought that I thought it was cold, that I didn't like it.
Yeah, I thought you were mad.
60. No, it's 67. I mean, it was amazing. Amazing. Haven't seen that temperature in months, so it was nice. But yeah, I didn't like sleeves. I felt restricted. I was never, when I was younger, I never wore the sleeves at the wrist. I didn't like it. I didn't like it around my wrist there. So there was some time there where I would like cut them 3/4, and that felt okay. But then I just, I didn't like the tight around the neck either. Everybody used to wear like the Under Armour sleeves, the compression sleeves. I think they were the first ones to do it, and they were the only company doing it for a number of years. They're too heavy. They didn't necessarily stay tucked into like your sliders. So I just said, screw it. I'm just going to go, like I wore a tank top under my jersey. Sometimes I went naked under the jersey. It just felt better that way. So my goal was just to stay as warm as I could, move around out there if it's freezing. Just stay moving, and in between innings, like sit on a bike, keep the heart rate up, keep the blood flow, keep the hands going. But when I was out there, the pitchers can stay warm more than anybody else because we're constantly moving. If the position players are out there, you'll see them with their hands, throwing hand like in their back pocket, probably the hand warmer back there. They're freezing. But I'm throwing a pitch every 12, 15 seconds, whatever it is, so it's easier to stay warm. And I didn't think the sleeves really helped much with the cold. I really didn't. I mean, what helps the most is greasing up with like Red Hot or like Atomic Bomb. Like I would throw it like on my triceps and my shoulders, and back of the neck. And I mean, it's so uncomfortably hot that like you have to move. And like as soon as you sit down, it starts to be pretty excruciating. This shit's hot. It comes in like a white little tub. There's one called Red Hot, one's called Atomic Bomb. And then there's another stuff that like some guys would use, call it like the cheese. Like it looked like nacho cheese, but it was even hotter than Red Hot. I would not recommend anybody use that unless you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And then in the shower, hot water would make it worse. So like you would have to wipe it off with like shaving cream before you get in the shower, or you're going to burn.
I always love those teammates in like the summer ball stuff, like the JUCO, backup catcher who'd be on the summer ball team, and he'd have like some blank jar in the bottom of the bag, like you're talking about the nacho cheese. Like, oh, have you heard of this stuff? This Atomic.
You got to be careful. And I believe Roger Clemens used to wipe it on his taint before he would pitch. And I know some people are saying, well, I'd use Icy Hot. That shit doesn't work. The Atomic Bomb, try the Atomic Bomb before you go to Red Hot, because I mean it's so much hotter every step you go up. Icy Hot isn't shit. Icy Hot. I mean, leave that for like, the old people who needed to put it on their knees before they, put the knee brace on and go for a walk. If you really want something that works, you got to start with Atomic Bomb.
Yep. Hey, speaking of performance, speaking of stuff that works, let's talk about Dewar Jeans. It's time to simplify your wardrobe and the way you dress with Dewar. They set out to create versatile staple items that can travel from a hike to work and even out to dinner. Less in the closet means less in the landfill, and less time debating what to wear means more time enjoying those adventures. I wore Dewar Jeans to Lambeau Field last night because I wanted to feel comfortable. I wanted to look good, but at the same time, I had to be walking around a lot. You're sitting on a plane, you're sitting on a bus, you're moving around a little bit. So just like being able to look the part and feel comfortable. Dewar, thank you guys very much for sending me those shorts. Unbelievable. They got this little hidden zip pocket there. I was able to, just in case. You have something you want to bring into the stadium. No sweat joggers too, guys, because it's getting cold. So we've been talking about no sweat joggers. Joggers is a very fashionable look. Some of you might be thinking, I want to be fashionable this year. Then let's go talk to Dewar. Let's get some sensible fashion in our closet. The no sweat jogger it's got extended range of motion, flexibility, stretchy and comfortable. This is the type of pants you can wear out on like a little Saturday night with the boys. Maybe follow up Sunday brunch. Maybe wear them to work. And the hike, obviously, zipper thigh pocket, so important items. Discover the lightweight luxury of performance naturals. Whether you're a corporate climber or a mountain climber, take 15% off online at shopdoer.com or in-store using code STARTING. That's shopdoer.com or in-store code use code STARTING for 15% off. And I would just like to emphasize that I am someone who struggles looking good, like in shorts and jeans, and just like I'm not that guy. Like if it were up to me, I'd be wearing sweatpants every day. I can't do that. So sometimes you have to check out these Dewar guys. They do a very, very, very good job. It's comfortable stuff, and they support Starting Nine, which means a lot to us. So hilarious story. We've talked about Bob Nightingale. I got to get this out there. Bob Nightingale.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. Hey, everybody, they want to break the story first. That's just what they do.
But you get it from our side now that you're in media. Like a lot of people are.
You got to be
on
careful
stuff.
though. Got to be careful. That's like you hear you're traded before from the MLB trade rumors, or somebody tells you it's like why the hell do you know before I know?
Dude, the same thing this week in Chicago. One of the big local Chicago media guys was like, Carlos Rodon is interested in signing with the Cubs, and Trey Turner has mutual interest with the Cubs. Just like, shut up. Just shut up. Because now people are walking around being like, oh, Rodon wants to be a Cub, Trey Turner wants to be a Cub. These guys aren't saying that. There's no way Carlos Rodon right now in September.
Or maybe if he was asked, like off the record, I don't know, hey, would you consider playing for the Cubs? And I'm not saying he said this, but it's like, yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to play at Wrigley. Like maybe something like that, just kind of dicking around.
Or I can see him being like, yeah, I would like to go back to Chicago because I like Chicago. Or I wouldn't mind moving back to Chicago. Or, it would be fun to pitch in the same town that didn't give me a qualifying offer. Right. There's an off-record comment that is like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's a perfectly valid thing to say. But the way people are just like, oh, no, now it's reported, it's rumored. It's like, no, it's not, dude. It's not until Scott Boras sits down with that front office, says this is what we're looking for, and they have time to figure out whether or not they have the money and the inclination to do it. But anyways, Bob Nightingale said at 12:16 p.m., former Cy Young Award winner, two-time runner-up David Price plans to retire after the 2022 season. It's just time and everything on my body hurts. Because Bob Nightingale said that. And then about 3 hours later, David Price steps up and says, no, I'm not making a decision about retirement. He told reporters he's going to make the call after the season. For now, he's just focusing on recovering from his wrist injury and getting back to the Dodgers before the season's over. So two funny things about this. This is a thing in the show, Bob. We do respect the hustle, Bob. Just clean up a little bit.
Yep.
And then David Price is still playing. When we were in college, he was the biggest thing in the world. Was this the biggest?
He absolutely
was. Oh, my
was.
God, David Price.
Yeah, I played with David Price on the 2006 national team, and he's the most impressive player, starting pitcher that I ever saw, especially at that age, and constantly followed his season, just kind of looking from afar because we didn't play Vandy, and just what I heard about him, even before Vandy, like, oh, hey, there's this dude, David Price, this monster lefty throwing 100 miles an hour. And then you just meet him, and he's just like, he's one of those guys that you're like, man, he's got it all. He's got it all figured out. He knows, he's got the stuff. He's got the intimidation factor. He's got the poise and the demeanor on the mound. I mean, he's a tough dude. He was virtually unhittable. I think he gave up one run that summer, when we were playing Team USA, and just one of those guys that everybody gravitated towards. I had a ton of respect for him, and knew that he was going to go 1-1. And I wanted to to perform like the way he was. You know, I had a really, really good year and pitched really well for Team USA. But man, just he was the best guy by far.
Was it just this?
By far. And he's pitched for a long time, man. He's pitched for a long, long time. This
Size, stuff,
13th
tunneling, repeatability. He's got that
14th
funky,
year.
big, over the top, and changing
deception.
speeds too.
Yeah, I mean, really, really good. And he's still doing his thing. And,
Dude,
everybody starts to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, hey, you only have so many bullets. And, whether he retires after this year or not, remains to be seen. But I mean, he's still competing.
Yeah, he's put up good numbers this year out of the bullpen. I'm trying to see what his last game was. Yeah, I don't know what, but he's hurt, but he was pitching in mostly in the second half. Very well, I'd say in the second half.
Yeah.
It would be so Dodgers for David Price to have like one season of a resurrection there where he goes out and makes like 28 starts and you're like, dude, he still got it. That wouldn't surprise me in the least bit.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to do that. But going from the bullpen and then trying to crank it back up as a starter.
That's tough.
I'm sure his body does hurt. Shit, my body hurt towards the end. It's like, damn, it's just not recovering as well. Shoulder ain't feeling great. Man, he's got a lot of miles. He's done a lot of great things in the game, and if this happens to be it for him, I mean, he needs to be proud of what he's done.
I got another segment called 1,000 Homers. This segment is exclusively about O'Neal Cruz. Hit a homer off Jacob deGrom. Just literally flipped his bat. I know the Mets won. I know Jacob deGrom is way better than O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not impressed with this kid by now, I mean, just go watch his at bats against deGrom. I mean, he hits that double off the top of the wall to lead off the game, and then his 3-run homer. That was basically the only blemish of deGrom's start. He struck out 13 in 5 innings. Just kind of does what he does. If it's just about anybody else in the box against deGrom, like he probably gets out of that unscathed and might get through the 6th. But it was a slider kind of down and in, a pitch that most guys take or swing and miss at. And it was like the homer he hit, one of his last homers he hit in Pittsburgh. I think it was off Tommy Hunter. Nice little slider down and in. He's kind of out on his front foot and just throws the barrel at it. And yeah,
well, it's cool too because he's going to hit. For a little bit, his average is going to be down. He's going to have strikeouts. He's going to make mistakes and stuff. But like the reason that he really jumped out to you wasn't because of like completeness and it's more just looking at this kid right now and being like, holy shit, this guy could casually hit 50 home runs a year in the big leagues.
Definitely.
And he's going to get better over time. And
it's
the Pirates
raw
will get better
ability.
as a team around him too.
Yeah.
But right now,
the raw
just looking at
ability
this
is
guy,
what stands out, man. It's just he's super raw. He's so big and so explosive and gifted all over the baseball field with his speed, his arm strength, his ability to hit for power. I think his average will come up. I mean, I don't think that his swing to me isn't one of these max effort swings that's going to generate over time like a ridiculous amount of strikeouts. I mean, he's punching out quite a bit, and he's also having his moments where he looks like one of the best hitters in the game. So I think he's only going to get better. And just watching those at bats against deGrom, I mean, most people look absolutely ridiculous against deGrom. That's what he does to guys. Yeah. And to have 2 at bats like that off one of the best guys to ever do it is very impressive. And think about it, there's not many guys in that lineup that are going to provide any protection for him or scare anybody off. So I mean, he's getting pitched to as difficult as guys can. If he's in a really good lineup, I mean his numbers, naturally would be a lot better.
He's hitting 7th for a last place team. So
yeah.
But stay with us. This is for the audience. Stay with us because like 3 years from now, when O'Neal Cruz is putting up preposterous slugging percentages, you'll have been part of this journey. I have a couple other things. We haven't talked about the Rangers at all, partly because they're just not where they're going to be in the future. It's not a team like what the Rangers are today is not who the Rangers will be tomorrow, and that's just going to keep changing. So it's kind of hard to like sink into the Rangers as some kind of storyline. But I do want to point out at this point, Corey Seager, 31 homers from the shortstop position, has very much flown under the radar because of the state of the Rangers. A team I look at next year and say, if they come out and they sign a couple guys in the offseason, they make a couple moves, these guys that are coming up along the way, the Rangers could very much surprise some people. But no one's talking about Corey Seager because I think he's done okay. I think he had a slow start, and, you know, by the time he got going, people were like, nah, we'll worry about you guys later.
No, I mean, he's had a nice year, definitely. And again, you know, in a lineup where there's not a lot of thump and you know exactly who you're not going to let beat you. I mean, you get guys best, like they're coming at you and they're like, I'll pitch to these guys. I'm not letting Seager beat me. And I mean, he's a very polished hitter. He did great things in LA. I mean, the Rangers are lucky to have him. I mean, he's another enormous human being. You don't realize how big he is. I think he's probably bigger than, what do they have him listed at? They got him listed at 6'4". He's taller than that. Just a rock solid guy that you know you could pencil in at shortstop. And, you know, the Rangers are going to get better. They got, you know, Sam Huff, I believe, was their number one prospect, their catching prospect, who, you know, Cooper caught a home run ball from him in Round Rock. We were there at a minor league game a couple months ago. Really excited to see him, you know, continue to get better at the next level. And they have guys. They have guys that, and they're gonna take their lumps. They're gonna take their lumps naturally, but I hope the Rangers are better. It's kind of nostalgic for me. I want to see a nice Rangers team.
I want balance in the West. I'm sick and tired of going to the standings 15, 25, 30. I know the Astros are great, but they can't be the only great one in that division. They can't.
No, yeah.
Somebody. Anybody.
I would like to see more balance in the West. I 100% agree with you. And maybe we'll start to get to see more balance, you know, in the NL West. Maybe. I mean, the Dodgers.
You just talked about they're the best team. They're going to be the best team of all time.
They got 15 wins against the Giants, which is the most they've had since moving to LA. I mean, they're just dominant.
Are they done playing the Giants on the year? Did they go 15-3 against them?
I think they are done. Yeah, I think so.
That's just owning somebody.
That's ownage. Yeah.
So I want to bring up the Blue Jays. I got some Toronto guys that are like, you're an asshole. You're not talking about us. We're very good. How many of these? Let's just put some teams together right now. I'm just going to put my list together. These are teams that are going to like fly under the radar. People are going to get mad at us in October because they've won a series or something. Or like guys are like, oh, these guys. So for next show, we have Ken Rosenthal is going to be with us later this week. We're going to be doing some previews as we get into the end of the season. And we probably should give some credit to, I'll do this, the Blue Jays, the Guardians, the Mariners, even though we've been blowing them a lot, the Phillies, the Cardinals. We give a lot of love to the Cardinals.
Yeah,
these are teams that, like, if they're in the NLCS, ALCS, if they're in the World Series, nobody really is going to be surprised. The surprise would be beating the Dodgers handily in 4 or 5 games. That's where you're like, holy shit. But if they win in 7, you're like, oh, that's baseball.
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to perform against the big boys? And it's hard not to think that. Right? Like, yeah, all these teams are going to get in and they win the wild card, and okay, well, now you got to match up against somebody like the Dodgers. Like, good luck with that.
I feel like starting pitching depth has really improved going into a playoff series. Like, I remember when I was in college, it was like the Padres are in the playoffs. Jake Peavy's pitching the first game, then they go to the next game. It's like just instant plummet. Like, the depth going through, whether it's the Braves, the Mets, the Phillies, there are questions about, like, all right, who's the 1, who's the 2? Who gets game 1, who gets game 2? And they are very serious questions. It's not just this guy's hot, this guy's a veteran. It's like, no, you have 2 horses. Which one do you want to roll out there?
That's a good problem to have. Yeah, both for the the Mets. Yeah, shit. I like the top 2 with Philly too. I mean, Nola's rock solid. It's hard to not love Wheeler. And yeah, I do think that the strength of the starters is much better than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
You think? You agree?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the talent, and I think the ability to go out and shut a team down is elevated, but it actually happening is down. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, the quality of the hitters too. I mean, these guys can really, really fucking hit.
I have one more thing on my list.
Hit me with it.
Corbin Burns versus Max Scherzer tonight. I hate talking about stuff that airs. Like, it hasn't happened yet. We're recording the show. The show will be out tomorrow morning, though.
Sure.
I don't want to call it must-win for Mets. They're up a game. Very tough situation for Mets fans right now.
I don't know if okay. Well, I mean, they got to. In what way?
Because the whole year they're like, dude, don't worry. It doesn't matter. Like the Braves have not slowed down. This reminds me when the Cubs won 97 games. You won like 97 games. You were playing the Rockies at home for a wild card, and they're better than that. And I remember that situation. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. The Cubs are playing a one game to.
Yeah, against the team.
The Phillies at the time, yeah, but
yeah. Well, are you talking about the wild card in 15?
18.
18. Oh, okay, yeah.
15, we're like, holy shit, playoff baseball.
But I mean, it was a situation where, I mean, the Pirates won 95 games or something that year. And to win 95 games or whatever and then have to play a one-game wild card, that's rough.
Sorry, fellas. Yeah, Thursday will be heavy. I can't wait to sit down with Ken Rosenthal.
That's going to be good.
And kind of dig into, like,
What do you think he's going to wear for us? You think he's going to pull out, like, something special? A new bow tie? Or is he going to be in, like, sweats and be at the house just kind of chilling?
I think he's going to be in the bow tie. I think he's in jacket, bow
Hands
tie.
down.
I want to know what he does in his free time.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
I kept asking the
We'll ask
golfers.
him.
I was like, what do you guys do? I kept telling the golfers, I like playing golf in my free time. I'm so average at it and below average. What do you guys do in your free time that you're not that good at? And Martin Conrad was like, I drive cars. I was like, yeah, okay, dude. That's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. We drive cars too.
Yeah, like performance Mercedes is not what I was talking about, dude. But
No.
good show, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to kick off the week. And again, 11 games left. It's getting pretty damn exciting. I can't wait for playoffs. I cannot wait for the playoffs.
Yeah, is this my first year of like talking about MLB every week and kind of, well, here's the storylines. Let's go. I'm over it. Can we just get these standings? Give me the playoff format. Because those moments are just so much more significant in the pressure and the leverage. It's insane.
Yep, and you fought all season to get to this point. You played 162 games, and now this is what matters. This is it, right here. You got, a wild card series or a division series, and if you lose, you lose. If you don't win the World Series, it's to get to that point and to get beat, and to have to go home and have nothing to show for. We won the division or we got in the wild card. Yeah, that's great, but we didn't make it to the end. I mean, it's tough for everybody except one team at the end of the day, but that's why it's so great.
What else you got cooking the rest of the day? You gonna go do some pull-ups?
I gotta go to the Apple store and get Brittany a new phone, which I dread going to that store. Gonna have lunch, and then we got football practice tonight, so nothing really. I gotta write my speech for the TCU Hall of Fame.
Whoa!
Banquet. Yeah, I gotta do that.
Congratulations! When did that happen?
It was announced like 2 months ago or so, and the dinner is not this weekend, next weekend. So I'm not even big. I like to write speeches, but I kind of just go over things in my head that I want to say, make sure I have locked in who I want to thank, have a few stories, and then that'll be it. So I might go up there with a note card, but I probably won't look at it. I'll rehearse it, several times and be ready to go.
That's this weekend.
Next weekend.
Mm-hmm. Dude, congratulations. I
appreciate it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
College teammates and like going back and just being a part of that, because that's that's for stuff before you became who you are. And so having that part, those connections and relationships are meaningful.
Yeah, it was kind of the beginning of the journey, not knowing how far I could take it, if I was going to have a chance to make it to the big leagues. But that was always the goal. Always the goal. Even from my senior year of high school, I'm like, I can do this. If I keep getting, I keep learning, I keep developing, I get a little bigger and stronger, I fine tune my stuff. And then every year that went by, I started to slowly see glimpses of me taking those next steps. And then ultimately, went through a lot of difficult times, in the minor leagues and being up and down. But I'm like, look, this is what I'm going to do. Hands down, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to find a way, no matter what it takes, and see how long I can ride it for.
We'll make sure Brittany films a speech.
Yeah, I'll get it on film for sure.
Okay, because we'll break it down afterwards. Like, thought you were strong here.
Yeah. No, it's going to be strong.
I'm gonna get some rest.
Good show, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I gotta write some blogs, and then I might weigh. If you don't hear from me for 36 hours, it's because I'm incapacitated.
Perfect. I'll check on you later.
Have fun at the Apple Store.
All right, man. Good show.